Hi, hey, hello. It's a pleasant day and happy learning to each and everyone. Welcome.
This is Hernes Angelica T. Sebastian, a first-year student taking a Bachelor of Secondary Education, major in English at Mindanao State University, Buug Campus. I am the first reporter from Group 5, and at this juncture, we are now in the Chapter 5 of our lesson, which is entitled The Typical and Atypical Development Among Children. In this presentation, we will learn deeper about the development among children. And to further understand the topic, my group mates have provided brief information of every topic that they will be discussing on their part. But before we proceed to the discussion, let me first present to you what you will be expecting to learn in Chapter 5. So in Chapter 5, we will learn about the child development and its importance. In the second part, the child development theories, where we will be learning about the psychosocial development theory of Erik Erikson, the cognitive development of Jean Piaget, social cultural theory of Lev Vygotsky, and the social learning theory of Albert Bandura. On the third part of this chapter, we will also be learning about the typical and atypical development. We will be going to differentiate the two development and the domain of development, and lastly, the stages in children development. The objectives is that at the end of this chapter, you will be able to identify typical and atypical milestones in the various stages of child development, and differentiate typical and atypical development of children in various stages of their development. So without further ado, let's start the discussion. Have you ever wondered how children develop? Or maybe at one time you have compared your development with that of a sibling or cousin of yours. If this is the case, then you are interested in child development, which is the pattern of growth, change, and stability that occurs from conception up until adolescence. Children do not grow at the same rate at the same time. This also goes for the students in an inclusive classroom. Knowing their capabilities can help you better as their teacher. Let's find out more about their development as this chapter focuses on the typical and atypical development among children from infancy to adolescence. Assessing the child's development is very vital and must be a team effort. Why is it vital and considered a team effort? Team building or teamwork with children means you are developing their ability to work together toward a common goal. And this part is very important for a teacher, parents, and for families, and also for us, because it means that we will be able to learn and to provide an experience, a predictable, consistent, positive approach to caring for and educating every child in their development. Assessing the child's development also reassure and support families and make them confident in their child's early learning and care. Child development refers to the sequence of physical, language, thought, and emotional changes that occur in the child from birth to the beginning of adulthood. And during this process, a child progresses from dependency on their parents or guardians to increasing independence. Child development is strongly influenced by genetic factors or genes passed on from their parents and events during the prenatal life. It is also influenced by environmental factors and the child's learning capacity. So what does child development include? Child development covers the full scope of skills that a child masters over their lifespan, including development in cognition, social interaction and emotional regulation, speech and language, physical skills, and sensory awareness. The cognition is where the ability of a child to learn and solving problems. The social interaction and emotional regulation, it refers to the interaction of the child with others and having a self-control. And the speech and language, it is the child's understanding and using a language in reading and communicating. Physical skills such as the functions of fine motor skills and gross motor skills, and a sensory awareness where the sensory information for use. In the child development, it also refers to how a child becomes able to do more complex things as they grow older. Development is different than growth. Growth only refers to the child getting bigger in size, and when we talk about normal development, we are talking about developing skills like what I have mentioned earlier, the gross motor skills, fine motor skills, language skills, cognitive skills, and social skills. Gross motor skills is using large groups of muscles to sit, stand, walk, learn, and etc. And it means that keeping the child's balance and changing positions. Fine motor skills is using the hand to be able to eat, draw, dress, play, write, and do many other things. Language skills is speaking, using body language and gestures, communicating, and understanding what others say. While cognitive skills is the thinking skills including learning, understanding, problem solving, reasoning, and remembering. Lastly, the social skills, which in interacting with others, having relationship with families, friends, and teachers, and cooperating and responding to the feelings of others. The developmental milestone of a child are set of functional skills or age-specific tasks that most children can do at a certain age range. So in infancy, it is a birth to 2 years of range of age. In the early childhood, it's 3 to 8 years age range. Middle childhood, 9 to 11 years, and the adolescence is 12 to 18 years age range. So why is child development important? Observing and monitoring child development is an important tool to ensure that the children meet their developmental milestones. Developmental milestones act as a useful guideline of ideal development. By checking a child's developmental progress at a particular age, markers against these arbitrary timeframes, it allows a check-in to ensure that the child is roughly on track for their age. If not, this checking of developmental milestones can be helpful in the early detection of any hiccups in the development. And this check is usually carried out through child or mother services and pediatricians as infants and toddlers, and later through preschool and school terms skills assessment. Moreover, the reason that early child development is so critical is that it lays down the foundations for the rest of children's lives. The brain is at its most receptive during the first 5 years. Receptive means the child is accepting new suggestions and ideas, and that leads to early experiences having a huge impact on the development of neurological connections. Influences children's brain functioning throughout their lives. More specifically, early child development has a direct impact on the children's behavior, social skills, emotional boundaries, and ability to form close relationships, school readiness, and level of achievement, even into adulthood. So in general, the child development and its importance is to ensure that a child meets his or her developmental milestone. It is crucial to observe and monitor his or her development and the milestone or developmental skills that needs to be mastered usually at the same rate act as a guide for ideal development. It is done by checking the progress of a child based on his or her age to see if the child is developing within expectations. For others, checking the milestones can help detect any difficulties at a particular stage. Intervention can be driven, which can help on the development of a child. Usually, it is the parents, teachers, and pediatricians who use the checklist. Moving on, let us now proceed to the child development theories. In this chapter, there are 5 different child development theories that we are going to learn from 5 different famous personalities, namely Erik Erikson, Jean Piaget, Lev Vygotsky, and Albert Bandura. First, we'll go to the psychosocial development theory of Erik Erikson. The objectives is that at the end of this presentation, you will be able to learn the psychosocial development theory of Erik Erikson and know the importance and implication of psychosocial development theory in the child's development. So, who is this famous Erik Erikson? So, Erik Erikson was a developmental psychologist that created a series of stages he proposed we all go through. So basically, we can relate to the stages that Erik Erikson meant to propose. He suggested that healthy success in each stage would lead to a happy life. He hinted at the fact that struggle in any of the stages can lead to a maladaptive behavior that can last a lifetime, therefore affecting your overall personality. According to Erik Erikson's theory of psychosocial development, it is one of the best-known theories of personality in psychology. Much like Sigmund Freud, Erikson believed that personality develops in a series of stages, and these stages we will later on discuss about it. Erik Erikson's theory describes the impact of social experience across the whole lifespan, and one of the main elements of Erikson's psychosocial stage theory is the development of ego identity. Ego identity is the conscious sense of self that we develop through social interaction. Moreover, according to Erikson, our ego identity is constantly changing due to new experience and information we acquire in our daily interaction with others. In addition to ego identity, Erikson also believed that a sense of competence also motivates behavior and actions. There are 8 stages theory that describe the changes one goes through a lifetime. And the main focus of Erikson's theory is the conflict of crisis one experiences through social interactions. Starting from birth, each person is faced with a conflict that needs to be resolved since it has an impact on the function of succeeding stages. And if one successfully overcomes the crisis of each stages, a psychological virtue emerges. So if the stages is handled well, the person will feel a sense of mastery, which is sometimes referred to as ego strength and ego quality. So what if every stages is managed poorly? What will happen? If one of the stages that Erik Erikson meant will be managed poorly, the person will emerge with a sense of inadequacy, wherein the person will feel an inability to deal with the situation in life. So here are some illustrations which explains the Erikson's 8 stages of psychosocial development. Let's start with the stage 1 of Erikson's stages of social development. In stage 1, it is trust versus mistrust. The first stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development occurs between birth and 1 year of age, and this means it is infancy. It is the most fundamental stage in life because an infant is utterly dependent. Developing trust is based on the dependability and quality of the child's caregivers. At this point in development, the child is utterly dependent upon adult caregivers for everything they need to survive, including food, love, warmth, safety, and nurturing. If a caregiver fails to provide adequate care and love, the child will come to feel what they cannot trust or depend upon the adults in their life. So in this stage, if a child successfully develops trust, the child will feel safe and secure in the world. Caregivers who are inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, or rejecting contribute to feelings of mistrust in the children under their care. Failure to develop trust will result in fear and a belief that the world is inconsistent and unpredictable. Next, in the stage 2, there is the autonomy versus shame and doubt. The second stage of Erikson's theory of psychosocial development takes place during the early childhood and is focused on children developing a greater sense of personal control. At this point in development, children are just starting to gain a little independence, and they are just starting to perform basic actions on their own and making simple decisions about what they prefer. By allowing kids to make choices and gain control, parents and caregivers can help children develop a sense of autonomy. Children who struggle and who are ashamed of further accidents may be left without a sense of personal control. Success during this stage of psychosocial development leads to feeling of autonomy. Failure results in feelings of shame and doubt. Children who successfully complete this stage feel secure and confident, while those who do not are left with a sense of inadequacy and self-doubt. Erikson believed that achieving a balance between autonomy and shame and doubt would lead to will, which is the belief that children can act with intention within reason and limits. In the third stage, it is the initiative versus guilt. The third stage of psychosocial development takes place during the preschool years. At this point in psychosocial development, children begin to assert their effort and control over the world through directing play and other social interactions. Children who are successful at this stage feel capable and able to lead others. Those who fail to acquire these skills are left with a sense of guilt, self-doubt, and lack of initiative. So the major theme of the third stage of psychosocial development of Erikson is that children need to begin asserting control and power over the environment. And success in this stage leads to a sense of greater purpose. Children who try to exert too much power experience disapproval, resulting in a sense of guilt. In the fourth stage, it is the industry versus inferiority. The fourth psychosocial stage takes place during the early school years from approximately ages 5 to 11. Through social interactions, children begin to develop a sense of pride in their accomplishments and abilities. Children need to cope with new social and academic demands, and success leads to a sense of competence, while failures result in feelings of inferiority. Children who are encouraged and commended by parents and teachers develop a feeling of confidence and belief in their skills. Those who receive little or no encouragement from parents or teachers or peers will doubt their abilities to be successful. That is why the guide of the parents and the teachers are highly needed in order to this stage to be successful, and in order for a child to develop a feeling of competence and a trust in their skills and in themselves. The fifth stage, the identity versus confusion. The fifth psychosocial stage takes place during the often turbulent teenage years, and this stage plays an essential role in developing a sense of personal identity, which will continue to influence behavior and development for the rest of a person's life. Teens need to develop a sense of self and personal identity, and success leads to an ability to stay true to yourself, while failure leads to role confusion and a weak sense of self. So, in this stage, why identity is important? It is because our personal identity gives each of us an integrated and cohesive sense of self that endures through our lives. Our sense of personal identity is shaped by our experiences and interactions with others. And it is this identity that helps guide our actions, beliefs, and behaviors as we age. Moving forward, the sixth stage, which is the intimacy versus isolation. Young adults need to form intimate, loving relationship with other people. Success leads to strong relationships, while failure results in loneliness and isolation. This stage covers the period of early adulthood when people are exploring personal relationships, and Erikson believed it was vital that people develop close, committed relationships with other people, and those who are successful at this step will form relationships that are enduring and secure. Because basically, when we create a great connection or a relationship with others, we feel this satisfaction, we may feel fulfilled in our life that has a great impact as we move forward in every situation in life. Next, this stage 7, which is the generativity versus stagnation. Adults need to create or nurture things that will outlast them. Often, by having children or creating a positive change that benefits other people, success leads to feelings of usefulness and accomplishment, while failure results in shallow involvement in the world. During adulthood, we continue to build ourselves, focusing on our career and family. Those who are successful during this phase will feel that they are contributing to the world by being active in their home and community. Those who fail to attain this skill will feel unproductive and uninvolved in the world. And the last stage, the integrity versus despair. The final psychosocial stage occurs during old age and is focused on reflecting back on life. And at this point in development, people look back on the events of their lives and determine if they are happy with the life that they live or they regret the things that they did or didn't do. That is why in this last stage, reflecting about life is very important so that we will not end up feeling despair or regrets. So all things considered, these are the 8 stages of Erikson's psychosocial development theory. Therefore, it is important to remember that the psychosocial stages are just one theory of how personality develops. And the theory can be a helpful way to think about some of the different conflicts and challenges that people may face as they go through life. So, That would be all for this presentation. My group mates will continue discussing the other development theories among children. And that would be all. Thank you so much.